So we'll start with chapter 1. The chapters have interesting quotes from scientists at the beginning. And this one's from Albert Einstein. The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. So this is just a theoretical question. What do you think is the most important idea in all of human knowledge? You'll probably spend a whole semester debating that. Just think about it. What's the most important idea? Just kind of think about that to yourself. Well, if we only talk about scientific answers, which is kind of appropriate because this is a chemistry class, it would probably be this. The properties of matter are determined by the properties of molecules and atoms. The properties of the individual pieces of matter determine the properties of the larger chunks of matter. If the atoms and molecules are different, the matter is different. So when we can begin to understand what's happening on the molecular level, that gives us a lot of information in how we can control that matter and make it do what we want. And so that's one of the things we'll be talking about is what are those little particles and what are their properties. So down here in the corner, okay, I see we're going to be that way. So this is now section 1.1. I break each of the, I stop at the end of each section and post those as separate videos so you don't have to go through like a whole hour and a half. So you can just jump around as needed. So let's review what an atom is. So an atom is a submicroscopic particle, meaning it's too small to be seen with a microscope. And it is essentially the fundamental building block of ordinary matter. Did any of you play with Legos when you were younger? Yeah. So you know what Legos are, right? Little building blocks, right? So I think of atoms as being a lot like Lego bricks. And you take the same Lego bricks and you put them together in different ways and you make different things. You take the same atoms and put them together in different ways and you make different compounds, right? It's rather unusual to find individual atoms just by themselves in nature. Usually they're combined with other atoms. And when you have two or more atoms that are hanging out together, bonded together, stuck together, if you will, those are called molecules. Okay? So a molecule is composed of atoms. And that's an illustration of a water molecule. So this is a water molecule. It's got one oxygen atom, two hydrogen atoms. This guy over here is pretty similar, but it's got two oxygen atoms and two hydrogen atoms. And the presence of that extra oxygen atom changes the properties, right? So we have this small difference in the molecular structure, huge difference in properties, right? Water is safe to drink, and it's important to drink enough water, right? If you don't have enough water, you're going to die. Of course, if you have too much water, you're going to die too, so kind of gets you either way. Hydrogen peroxide, should you drink that stuff? No, not good, right? It's made out of the same things, but it's a different ratio, combined in different ways, very different properties. So if we want to understand the world around us, the substances around us, we need to learn about the atoms and molecules. And that's the main point of chemistry, is what are those molecules doing and how can we learn about them? So one definition of chemistry, the science that seeks to understand the behavior of matter by studying the behavior of atoms and molecules. Here we have an example of two different substances made out of the same thing, carbon atoms. So this is graphite, like is in your pencil lead. There's no lead in your pencil lead because that's really toxic. Just ask the Romans. Your pencil lead is composed of carbon atoms in a particular structure that makes graphite. And you slide it across the paper and it leaves this black trail behind and you can write with it. A diamond is made out of the same stuff, carbon atoms. but the way they are connected to each other is different. And so the diamond looks very different, and its properties are very different, right? It's very hard. It's not slippery. You can't break it, right? And it's all with how the particles, the atoms, are connected to each other.